Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's market color session. My name is Abigail, and I'm going to be taking the first half of today's session, which is going to be focused on commodity currencies. By that, I mean AUD/USD, NZD/USD, and USD CAD. Shortly after which, my colleague is going to come on board, and we're going to do a detailed session on indices as well. I see a couple of us online. It's good to have you here. I just to name a few: St. Paul, Kolade, Keliepa, James Chima, PGG3. The wallpaper is wallpaper. All right, good to have everyone here. So let's just go straight into today's business, shall we? Okay, so starting with NZUSD on the H4 time frame. On the H4 time frame, I'm going to be looking at what price has done so far. I know some of us may be wondering what we have on our chart. This is our indicator strategy, the all-weather strategy that we use at the Value Flow Trading Academy. Our students are quite familiar with this method of trading. It is very similar to using price action, except we now have the indicators that have already done certain calculations on our behalf, right? So I'm looking at NZUSD on the H4 time frame, and we're starting to see that the last session we had was somewhere around here, the last profit taking that occurred, right? So because it was somewhere around here, we already expected price to retrace somewhere into this level, and then would see a reaction, which happened on the H1. If you're part of our last session, you'd see that this played out exactly how we predicted. We're waiting to see price. You can even see that the arrow is still very much there. So we drew this out, expecting price to eventually buy back into this zone, and then we start to see reactions, which is currently happening. But on the H1 time frame now, based on how intertwined our indicators are looking, it is safe to say on the H1 we are currently in a range, right? A ranging market right now. We want to see a clear separation from the Keltner channels and the all-weather before we now see where price is going, right? So if I come back to the H1, price has now retraced into this zone, but no profit taking sunshine has occurred. So what I'm thinking is on NZUSD, there's going to be a bit more buys till we see a new sunshine. This sunshine basically indicates profit taking. For the sake of those of us who don't know what sunshine is, it just indicates that people who are riding a particular move are taking profit out of the market. So I would like to see a new sunshine fund. Then we'll now start to see if we would see sell continuation of NZUSD. I say sell continuation because we saw a break of structure around right around this one, another break of structure. So is that going to be a buy, take profit, and then another level that comes to break out through this one? We're going to be watching. It is also possible that price keeps buying and just continues the predominant trend of NZUSD to the upside. It's important to stay flexible, right? Since H4 and H1 are not as clear as we prefer, I would now decide to go on the M5 to mark out certain points of interest that would help me have a clearer picture of what price could do. Let me go ahead and take out our last week's diagram. It has already played out. So I'll just go ahead and delete that and mark out today's points of interest. And those points of interest basically include yesterday's high, yesterday's low. These highs and lows we're marking out are basically support and resistance levels where we're looking at price trading into finding support or having a previous support on current resistance and vice versa. So yesterday's high, yesterday's low has been marked out. I'm going to go ahead and mark out day before yesterday's high, day before yesterday's high. The period separators are what helps us to easily identify data for each day. And by period separators, I mean the dots you see on our chart. So for those of us who are using the MT4 platform, if you want to be able to separate your data into different days, you can simply do that using Control Y on your keyboard. So this is now day before yesterday's high. This was the weekend. So I'm going to go as far back as Friday and mark that out into today, and then mark out day before yesterday's low as well. It happens to have a little confluence or very close to yesterday's low. So I am now watching out for these levels. What am I saying? I'm saying if NZD/USD breaks above this zone, we should see more buys on NU, continuation to the upside. You can see the levels we marked out on M5. So if we see a break above these levels, then it is very likely that the NZD/USD buy wants to continue. But if price happens to find resistance around this level, because it is now trading into a current resistance, if it happens to find resistance here and breaks all of these level points to downside, then we're going to be looking at NZUSD selling and selling downward. You can say that if it even happens to break below those levels, it is going to be trading back into our trend. But this is the H1. Let's see H4. So if it breaks below that level, it is going to come down here, most likely into the H4 trend. This red indicator is the trend, right? So this is what I'm watching out for. There's two buyers on H4, H1. M5 will now help me fine tune it. So you don't have the indicators, that's fine. Just take note of the price point on the right hand side. I'm going to use this crosshair tool. So the first POI is somewhere around 0.59312, and then second one is 0.5917181. Let's use 181. And then the third point of interest is 0.58694 and 0.58652. So these are now the points of interest. We're watching to see what happens. Break above, give me retest. We're going to be seeing buys of NZUSD first into this level. This level is a support zone, right? So first into that zone. And if price fails to take out this level, it is going to be trading lower and we'll see fluctuation and of course take advantage of that. I believe this is clear. If you have questions on this, please ask me as I proceed into AUD/USD analysis. So you have time to type and I'll come back to it at the end of my session. And if you don't have any question and you understand, just leave me a tiny emoji to be sure I'm not just talking to myself and I'm actually exchanging knowledge and value. Okay, AUD/USD H4 time frame, what do we see? So predominantly the trend is still to the upside. Looking at current structure prices in a range, right? What is happening right here? I'll zoom in. All of our indicators are intertwined, same thing as our Donchan channel, which helps us identify our breakout structure. So on the H4 time frame, we're currently in a range on this asset class. H1, what is going on H1? So on H1, there is a bit more clarity. We had this sunshine here, and price has sold into what would have been our first point of interest, which is right inside this one. So our second point of interest on AUD/USD will now be down here, right? I'm saying since price has taken out this level, is it possible we're going to see a break and a retest of AUD/USD back into this one, and then a sell continuation right into our trend before we now see the overall move continue? Because remember that our entire swing right now is to the upside. So is it possible to see a sell downward, maybe even lower, because we decide to swing this entire thing, 50% to be somewhere around this zone, right? Somewhere around this level. So is it possible we see a sell? It is very likely. I'm going to be watching, but I'm going to fine tune now on M5. It is very systematic. It's the same old thing that we do every time. You can see our previous markup. I'm always on the chart. So I'm just going to drag that into today, marking out yesterday's high, marking out yesterday's low. Day before yesterday's high. I like how previous markups are there. So you see how they actually play out. We saw AUD/USD buying back into this one, AUD/USD bought back into that level. Right. So now yesterday's high and low has been marked out. Day before yesterday's high, I'm going to go ahead and mark out day before yesterday's low. And you see that price just keeps digging lower. So give a retest. If price comes to give me a retest somewhere around here, I would be interested in taking the USD sell downward, right? Provided it meets my confirmation entry on M1. So yes, price is giving more bias to the downside. I'm expecting price to retrace, maybe retrace back into this level all the way into our pullback tool, and we'll see that final lap that will take AU downward, right? And then finally, we're looking at USD CAD. USD CAD on H4. USD CAD on H4. This has delivered exactly how we said it would. During our last analysis, we said we're looking at temporal sell-offs of USD, and exactly that has been happening now. You'll see it clearly on the M5. So we had this sell dominant structure to the downside, the temporal retracement. And when price retreats into this level, you can see we had the previous support acting as a current resistance. You see how it is literally price action, but with indicators, right? So we now had this one. This was like 50% of the flip tool. So we said we're looking at price selling, including the sunshine we saw printed temporarily on the H1 as well. We caught it quite early. So if you go down on M5, you'd see that price did all of this move downward. It was too clean, right? Too clean, just like we said it would. But now moving forward, what are we looking out for next? I'm going to go ahead and mark out day before yesterday's high, right here, day before yesterday's low. This is yesterday's low, sorry. So day before yesterday's high and low, yesterday's low, and then finally mark out yesterday's high. Okay, so price has been selling. The only reason why I wouldn't take a sell on USD right now is because my stop loss is going to be a bit wide. I would prefer to put my stop loss somewhere above this high, and that is about 60 something pips. Where will be my take profit if I choose to take a sell now? Because price has now retraced into this pullback, right? I would want to wait and see. If I'm going to enter a sell with that kind of wide stop loss, I want to see you come and take out this level. When you take out what should serve as a pullback to keep pushing you upward, then I could now take a sell targeting somewhere down below, maybe even down here, so that my risk to return will now be worth it. If I'm going to be risking about 60 pips, I should be catching somewhere about 120 pips, right? Just so it actually makes sense for me to take that trade. And that's pretty much it for my buyers. Let's just see if we have any news releases coming out today. I do know we have a couple high impact news, but what asset classes would they be affecting? Please, is this helpful to anyone? If it is, kindly leave an emoji in the chat box. So today is May 20th. Right. So this already came out, AUD cash rates. It came out exactly as forecasted, so it didn't really do much on the chart. We saw it coming, and because we saw that coming, it just did its thing, and the market continued trading. There's another one coming out, RBA monetary policy, RBA rate statement. And then for Canada, we're looking at CPI by 1:30 p.m., median CPI year on year, and trimmed CPI year on year. So we should be on the lookout for these news releases as well, right? And that's pretty much it. Quick announcement, we're going to be starting our FXB training next week, Monday. So if you've been looking to take a class with the VFT Academy, this is the time to do so, right? Thank you so much for joining to this point and giving me your listening ears. Was this helpful to someone? Can we proceed into the next half of today's session? All right, thank you, Mr. Daniel. With that being said, we are good to go into the next half. Do not go anywhere, I'll be back shortly. Cheers and God bless.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the second part of the market follow session this morning. And how are we doing? Hope we are good. Hope we are fine. All right. So in the second part of the market follow, we'll be looking at US equities markets, US 100, as 100, the same thing, Dow Jones, which is the S30, and also S&P 500. S&P 500, looking at what those markets are currently doing. All right. So quickly, let's look at the market. On US 30, let's start with US 30. Last week, we mentioned that we are bullish on US 30, that we are very, very much willing to buy, right? However, price almost got to our level, but didn't reach there before we saw that buy momentum started printing to the upside, right? Just quite painful because, I mean, we had expected to see the buy. We had this level marked out. Let me draw it, a markup for last week. Have some levels significantly marked out. Yes, we had this mapped out, right? And we wanted to buy for 50%, that's 0.5. That's from this, at least to start buying to the upside. However, what did price do? Price just came and tapped into this other block here and started pushing to the upside. Quite painful because, I mean, look at the buy. Very smooth buy to the upside with zero drawdown, right? Meaning, I still believe this gap is going to come out. It's going to be filled, but then when it's what I really don't know, I can't say for now. All right, looking at the market, we are structurally bullish, right? Because we're beginning to break structure to the upside, which is this. We've broken it with a week, right? We've broken the structure with a week. So a week break of structure, we are to the upside, right? And then we've not seen the break of those former lows, right? We've not seen, instead of break of lows, we are seeing highs being broken, right? And that indicates that the market is very, very much bullish, right? For me this morning, what will I be looking at? I don't want to be engrossed in the intraday kind of play and then forget the overall, right? If I want to draw this fib, I'll be looking at something like this, although price is currently retracing to the downside now, no problem, no doubt about that. But then if we're going to see a retracement, even this zone will be cleared up, right? And then probably something around 50 or 78.6, that will be a down movement against the downside, which I really don't accept for now, but it's something I'll keep in mind. I want to see retracement up to say 50% or something to this downside, right? So something like this before price continues movement. If so that I don't confuse us, I believe something like this, a retest and then continuation. That's what I'm looking out for, right? Because buying from this zone is still visible, but then I mean, it would be us buying at premium, right? Which is not really advisable. Of course, we can see some intraday scalp trade here and there, and then take advantage of it. But long term, in terms of holding and swinging this position, yeah, would have been a very good opportunity, but we missed out on that last week. Price didn't get to our area of interest. Instead, just tap into that other block, the first other block, and then started pushing to the upside. I mean, this is the market, so there's nothing really we can do about that. All right, looking at the market now, what can we say we're looking at? What can we say we're looking at? Price has broken all of this. So a classic box pattern is when we see a failure around here, we expect it to continue to the upside, which is very much valid. There's that validity of that being of that happening strongly. Also, there's another area here that looks very inviting for a sell-off, right? But then I don't expect price to go there for now, right? If we see price continuing this push to the upside into this level, then we should expect that this sell-off will eventually happen. This sell-off that I just do now will eventually happen, and then we'll see that confirmation to the upside, because this is going to send price to the downside heavily. However, if we start seeing price selling off from this zone to the downside, then we should expect that once price comes back to this zone, it's going to violate it and then continue to push the upside very well. So on 4 hour time frame, this is what we have on the 1 hour time frame. Also, let me look quickly. We have price reacting off from this level, other block around this zone. Of course, that violated it, but then it is still in that region, right? That's been violated already, as you can see. Let me increase my chart so we can see properly. It has been violated already, but then price is still trying to come down to that region. So an intraday play for today will be something like, although we don't have a sweep here, price didn't sweep this market, so it's really hard to take this buy, because I would have really wanted to take the buy if there was a clear sweep of this low here, but there wasn't any sweep, right? If there was a sweep, that would be a classic box pattern, right? Because we have a sweep and then a fair value gap and another block below, which we can combine both the fair value gap and the other block to take trades. But now there's no sweep, and you know already a textbook strategy of box pattern is that if there's no sweep, there's no trade, right? because that sweep gives you the confidence to hold this market. So if there's no sweep in this market, meaning on US 30, we might not be able to take this buy. We shouldn't even take the buy, right? Because the confidence to hold the position, it can come to this other block and then start pushing to the upside again. Yes, there's that possibility, but also you know that you're trading against your strategy, right? Which is one thing we strongly advise against, right? So for that reason, since there's no sweep of structure here, one thing we'll do is just wait on this and then probably check out US 100 or S&P 500 for a trade setup in case there's a sweep on that. All right, that being said, let's move to US 100, which is the NASDAQ, right? Move to US 100, which is NASDAQ. Okay, so on US 100 on the daily time frame, we've seen that unlike US 30, we've seen a lot of movement. On the daily time frame, US 100 has cleared all of this for its own, right? Let me bring it back. So NASDAQ has done all its own clearing for all of this, right? Very, very bullish. It's one, both NASDAQ and S&P 500 are leading, the market this week, or even since last week, right? In terms of their bullishness, right? So we can see this price is already forming a proper buy or bullish structure on the daily time frame, right? Previously it was sell and very strong sell to even say, but now we are seeing that price has broken all major resistance level, right? Without remorse, we've seen upside, and that is strongly indicative of the fact that we are bullish in this market. We are very, very much bullish in this market. So we have all of this level that's been broken, retested, broken, but then we've not seen a retest of this level, right? We've not seen a retest of this level. That's why I'm going to go ahead and put a fib on it. Let me see. Okay, retracement into this level will be 23 spots, 23.60 level. That's not too fine for me. I would love to buy below 50% fib level, right? That's like a discount for me to buy. However, we cannot ignore this. Also, if we're going to see that sell-off that we're looking out for in terms of retracement, this can happen. We can see a buy to sell model, right? What do I mean? This is like a classic box pattern sweep, break to the downside, and then fair value gap that's been given. We can see price pushing a bit, right, into this zone before it starts selling down, right? If we see price pushing a bit into this zone, let me mark it out. So that's something like this already. That's something like this before it's now finally comes to the downside, right? So if we see price pushing into this zone and then finally selling to the downside, we would see that sell-off, a huge sell-off below 50%, which we can use to start buying, right? Following the initial Fibonacci, I drew, right? Those level I said we're going to buy from below 50%. This, if we see this happen like this, meaning price push a bit to the upside here, right? We'll see that happen strongly, right? But for today, is there any intraday play that we might want to look at to take advantage of? Actually, the buy can still continue, but for me, I'm more skeptical because on the daily time frame, there are a lot of fair value gaps we feel below, right? Also, for US 100, we didn't get to see that, buy, the buys we wanted to have before. That was last week. A sec, please give me a sec while I adjust this. Okay, yeah, we're back. The buy we were waiting for last week, all of this, the price is going to come down. In fact, for this, we didn't even have that enough retracement. Unlike US 30 that almost got to our area of interest. This didn't even get to our area of interest. right? Just reversed from this fair value gap and then started pushing to the upside. And I was super sure on that US 30 because US 30 was giving everything, was pointing to a buy, but then it's what it is, right? We just missed out on that. There'll still be another trade opportunity, and hopefully, by Thursday, the market should have given more price action, for us to make better decision in the market, right? All right, on US 100, what do we have on US 100? On the daily time frame, we see that the market is still is now bullish on the 4-hour time frame, seeing that that's tested and then broken all of these support levels, right? All these resistance levels, right? So for me, like I mentioned, one thing we can see is okay, beautiful. We are seeing something here. Unlike US 30, on the 4-hour time frame, we are seeing that it's a clear sweep, right? It's a clear sweep around this zone, and then an order block, fair value gap just below, and then a break of structure to the upside. So this level we can expect a bounce off from this level to continue buying to the upside and put it on 1-hour time frame. Yeah, there's a clear sweep. Unlike US 30, look at US 30, there is no clear sweep, right? There's no sweep. But then on US 100, that's the Nasdaq, there's a clear sweep of structure, right? And then a break to the upside, and then a fair value gap, which has not been filled or tested before, then an order block, right? By the time you put this on the 12 time frame, you're going to see it's an order block, right? Breaker block turn into order block, right? This is a very, very significant level. If price comes to this zone, it should hold typically, right? It should hold typically because we have different confluences. The breaker block to another block, fair value gap, all around the same region. So we should see that bounce up from this zone to the upside, continuation to the upside. And where would we be buying into? Coming from here. So let me use my far to market. Exactly from here. If you want to see this play, that price is going to come down and then enter into this zone for it to start selling off, to go and clear all of this inefficiency and all of those fair value gap on to get to 50% fib level from which you start buying again. So this can happen, and it's quite significant. I'll be watching out for this today and seeing how it's going to happen, right? To also be on the safer side, instead of using pending order, I'll be waiting for 5 minutes box pattern, right? This same strategy on 5 minutes, and that would give me more confidence to take a buy if I see it happen on 5. Instead of entering the market with pending order direct, right? My SL above my order around there, then SL just below. Instead of doing that, I'll wait for all of this to happen on 5 minutes, even 3 minutes. Then with that, I can get more refined SL and a bigger and a much better risk reward of the same trade. All right, that being said, on S&P 500, we have similar price action. However, on S&P 500, we don't have that sweep, right? There's no sweep around here. You can see clearly. Market has not swept anything, although very, very much bullish like US 30 and also NASDAQ. But then the intraday trade, there's nothing significant here that we can hold to say, okay, this is really, really significant, like US 100. You can see there's nothing really significant, right, in terms of intraday. The only thing that is looking like a setup for us, which actually is not advisable in terms of going all with your risks. If you want to take this trade, probably you want to do 0.5%. If you normally risk 1%, if you risk 3%, you want to dial it down to 1.5, right? So that with this, you're not opening your entire position to this particular setup, right? Although it's a plus setup, but then from the higher time frame, it isn't, right? Intraday basis can look like that, but then higher time frame kind of trade that will swing for long, it's not looking like that. So that's why we want to just enter minimal rates with this. However, it's looking good. All right, on S&P 500, we believe structure is still very much bullish to the upside, and then with what we have, let me look on the daily time frame. Daily time frame is very much bullish, very, very much bullish, right? Yeah, We expect, like I mentioned last week, that we expect price to come to this zone. Price didn't at all. We didn't see that, we test on this zone. So we're waiting for a sell-off. Practically, I'm waiting for a sell-off that I know that will send price to clear all of this, and then we'll start buying properly, right? That is one thing I'm waiting for. Now, since we've missed the first initial move, we'll allow price to retrace a bit, and then with that, we now start selling. We start buying properly to the upside. All right. That being said, come to the end of the analysis on US equities, US 30, US 100, and S&P 500. I've seen a question in the chat box on PQG3 saying, please TD on XAU USD. I believe probably this is your first time or you're not familiar with the way we arrange or run things here. So from Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we do analysis on DXY, GBP, JPY basket, and all its related pair. That's JPY basket and all its related pair. Then gold, precious metal, right? Gold and other assets in that class. While on Tuesday and on Thursdays, we do analysis on commodity asset class and also exam and US equities, right? US equities. So, but no problem. Nonetheless, we look at gold and then see what is happening on gold this morning. On gold, yeah, if you understand market structure, you understand that practically gold is in a range. Okay, this is not gold, this is silver, right? Let me look for gold. Okay. I don't want to distort this chart. It's by our gold trader. Let me look from that chart. But you can look at the analysis yesterday. Yesterday's market color was discussed properly, right? It was discussed properly. That what we have on gold here, selling off. I believe the last time I looked at gold, I told us what I'm seeing here on the daily time frame is like double top, right? Double top. By the time you change this to a line chart, is this double top and classic, chart pattern rule. What does this say? If you see a double top like this, what should you expect? What should you expect? Double top, you have this. Let's just use chart pattern 101. What do you expect if price comes like this? You expect a retracement and what? Down to this zone. That's what I'm looking at, right? From my own, analysis style, all right? So that's what I'm waiting for, and that's what I'm looking at. So, but one thing that will send this, or one a factor that will determine if we'll see this is fundamentals, right? If fundamentals comes out, that is, and by fundamental, I'm not even talking about CPI and the rest. I'm talking about news, right? What is happening in the market? What's Trump saying, right? Who is about to fight who? Which country is about to fight who? All of those news will determine if for any reason we're going to see a tank to the downside. And one other factor is VIX. The VIX, that's volatility index. Okay, that's been removed. Come in. I usually have it, okay. This here, right? This index is powerful, right? Why it was here, gold was buying to the upside because investors were very, very much, pessimistic at that time, and then we're taking their money from risk assets into saving assets, which gold is number one of it. Right now, you can see that they've sold off completely. Sold off, meaning investors are now optimistic in the market. So I expect gold to start selling off really, really well. And we've seen that happen in like last 2 weeks, right? So I expect it to continue. Where am I expecting it? At least down here, right? So that's what I'm looking out for gold from my own perspective this morning. So I believe that helps. Further analysis will be done by tomorrow. When one of our good trader comes on board. Also, thank you so much for staying through this session. We'll be reconvening again by 2 in the afternoon for the New York market follow session. In that session, we just look at what the market is doing and then compare and contrast if anything has changed in the market in terms of our buyers. And we'll use that to also align our position. All right, thank you so much for joining. My name is Demola Bloba. I'll see you by 2 in the afternoon. Cheers and God bless everyone.